Welcome back to this channel, English Literature with Irdam. As we started a series of 100 most important and classical novels of all times with your first line, your date of publication, and your writers. So already 3 of the videos have been completed on this topic. And if you haven't gone through those 3 videos, kindly go through them and then come to this fourth part. Now, in this list, we have another important and beautiful novel, and that is The Towers of Trebizond by Rose Macaulay, written in 1956. And its first line is, "Take my camel, dear," said my aunt Dot as she climbed down from this animal on her return from high mass. Next in this list, we have Joseph Conrad's Lord Jim, written in 1900. And remember that Joseph Conrad is important in post-colonial theory as well. His other famous works like Heart of Darkness, Nostromo, etc. are also equally important. Go through them also. Its first line is, "He was an inch, perhaps two, under 6 feet, powerfully built, and he advanced straight at you with a slight stoop of the shoulders, head forward, and a fixed from under stare which made you think of a charging bull." Next, we have L.P. Hartley's The Go-Between, published in 1953, and its first and famous line is, the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there." Next in this list, we have Russell Hoban's Ridley Walker, published in 1980, and its first line is, "On my naming day, when I come 12, I gone front spear and killed a wild boar. He parbley ben the last wild pig on the bundle downs. Anyhow, there had not been none for a long time before him, nor I ain't looking to see none again." So go through this work also, it is equally important. Then next we have William Gaddis, The Frolic of His Own, published in 1994, and its first line is, "Justice, you get justice in the next world. In this world, you have the law." So it is another important line and a criticism of the contemporary society. So don't forget it. Next in this line, we have J.G. Ballard's Crash, published in 1973, and its first line is, "Vaughan died yesterday in his last car crash." Next in this list, we have Dodie Smith's I Capture the Castle, published in 1948, and its first line is, "I write this sitting in the kitchen sink." Then we have a very famous post-human novel by Catherine Dunn, Geek Love, published in 1983, and its first line is, "When your mama was the geek my dreamlets, Papa would say she made the nipping off of noggins such a crystal mystery that the hens themselves yearned toward her, waltzing around her, hypnotized with longing." So go through this work also. Then we have John Burns' The Short Wheat Factor, published in 1960, and its first line is, "In the last years of the 17th century, there was to be found among the pops and fools of the London coffee house on rangy, gangling flitch called Ebenezer Cook, more ambitious than talented and yet more talented than prudent, who, like his friends in folly, all of whom were supposed to be educating at Oxford or Cambridge. So go through this work also. Then we have James Crumley's The Last Good Kiss, published in 1978. And its first line is, when I finally caught up with Abraham Trahan, he was drinking beer with an alcoholic bulldog named Fireball Roberts in a ramshackle giant just outside of Sonoma, California, drinking the heart right out of a fine spring afternoon. Then we have William Faulkner's another work, Intruder in the Dust, and it was published in 1948. Its first line is, it was just noon that Sunday morning when the sheriff reached the jail with Lucas Bochum, to though the whole town, the whole country too far that matter, had known since the night before that Lucas had killed a white man. Then we have another novel in this list, Robert Graves' uh, I, Claudius, published in 1934. And its first line is, I, Tiberius Claudius Drusus Nero uh, Germanicus, this, that, and the other. For I shall not trouble you yet with all my titles, who was once and not so long ago either known to my friends and relatives and associates as Claudius the idiot, or Claudius the stammerer, or Claudius, or at best as poor Uncle Claudius. So remember that here the character Claudius is direct reference to the Hamlet by Shakespeare. So don't remember this one. So don't forget to remember this work. Then in this list we have Saul Bellows, The Adventure of Aggie March. Then in list, then in this list we have another work of Charles Johnson's Middle Passage, published in 1990. And its first line is, of all the things that drive men to sea, the most common disaster I have come to learn is women. Then we have another work, I Am an American, Chicago born, Chicago, that somber city, and go at thing as I have taught myself freestyle and will make the record in my own way. First to knock, first admitted, sometimes an innocent knock, sometimes a not so innocent, sometimes an innocent knock, sometimes a not so innocent. It's the first line of The Adventure of Augie March, written by Saul Bellow in 1953. So go through this work also. Then we have Sinclair Lewis Babbitt, written in 1922, the same year on which T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland and Eugene O'Neill's uh, The Hairy Ape was published. So its first line is, the towers of zenith aspired above the morning mist, austere towers of steel and cement and limestone, sturdy as cliffs and delicate as silver rods. Then next, we have John Hawke's Second Skin, published in 1964. And its first line is, I will tell you in a few words who I am, lover of the hummingbird that darts to the flower beyond the rotted sill where my feet are propped, lover of bright needle point and the bright stitching fingers of humorless old ladies bent to their sweet and infamous designs, lover of parasols made from the same puffy stuff as a young girl's underwear. drawers. So go through this work also, it's equally important. Then we have another beautiful work, Scaramucci, written by Raphael Sabatini in 1921. And its first line is, he was born with a gift of laughter and a sense that the world was mad. Next in this list, we have Blown Away, written by Ronald Sukanik in 1986. And its first line is, psychics can see the color of time, it's blue. Then we have The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers in 1940. It was written, and its first line is, in the town there were two mutes and they were always together. Next in this list, we have Raymond Federman's Double or Nothing, published in 1971. And its first line is, once upon a time, 2 or 3 weeks ago, a rather stubborn and determined middle-aged man decided to record for posterity exactly as it happened, word by word and step by step, the story of another man. For indeed, what is great in man is that he is a bridge and not a goal. A somewhat paranoid fellow, unmarried, unattached, and quite irresponsible, who had decided to lock himself in a furnished room with a private bath, cooking facilities, a bed, and a table. So go through this work also. Then next in this list we have Margaret Atwood's Cat's Eye, published in 1988, and its first line is, time is not a line but a dimension, like the dimension of space. There are some other works also written by Margaret Atwood. They are The Testament, Handmaid's Tale, and Survival, a thematic guide of literary studies. So go through these works also, they are equally important. Then we have Virginia Woolf's Orlando, published in 1928, and its first line is, he, for there could be no doubt of his sex, though the fashion of the time did something to disguise it, was in the act of sling at the head of a moor which swung from the rafters. So go through this work also, it is equally important. Then we have David Lodge's Changing Places, and its first line is, high, high above the North Pole, on the first day of 1969, two professors of English literature approached each other at a combined velocity of 1200 miles per hour. So remember the names of these two English literature professors. They are always asked in the exam. Then we have The White Sargasso Sea by Jean Rice, 1966, 1966, and it is based on Jane Eyre. And its first line is, they say, when trouble comes, close ranks, and so the white people did. Then next important work is Stephen Crane's The Red Badge of Courage, published in 1895, and its first line is, the cold passed reluctantly from the earth, and the retiring fogs revealed an army stretched out on the hills, resting. So here the video ends, and so the series of our 100 most important novels with your first line is. So I hope you enjoyed this series, and very soon I am going to start a series on the most important characters portrayed in literature, and also most important and 100 classical dramas in English literature. So if you are an aspirant of UGC NET set JRF or preparing for any other similar exam in English literature, uh, be connected with this channel, subscribe it, like and share it.